every place has specific regulations that they have to deal with in order to move leases, to actually put in the rigs. There's the exploratory phase that they have to go through. So what's your specific question about the Eastern Gulf?
The statement you all put out says that in the Eastern Gulf, which remains under a congressional moratorium, right? But if it were to be lifted, he thinks there should be more drilling closer to the western coast of Florida?
Well, I don't want to get into water that's too deep for me when we're talking about the Gulf of Mexico, but I would encourage you to ask the folks
Bill,
around.
how about, for years, some of the arguments that that opponents of drilling use is that first of all, as the president has said when he's a candidate, it doesn't come up with a single gallon of gas on the short term. It's way long off. And number two, well, answer just that part. When he pounded the lectern back in 2008 and said, I won't do it because it won't come up with anything immediate, what flipped him on that?
Well, the president's view, and I was saying this earlier, is that this is not a silver bullet to the answer to the energy question that we have. But it's one part, and this is something that he said over the course of the campaign. So people who voted for him, people who covered him, people who were watching this election knew that if you pulled the lever for Barack Obama in November of 2008, what you were going to get was a president who, as part of a comprehensive energy strategy, was going to support some drilling where it made sense. He was going to promote efficiency. He was going to invest in renewables. But he was going to take a comprehensive view and not just take the short view that drilling was the answer to all of our answers.
The other aspect of that is the complaint against it was that the drilling, there are a lot of leases out there sitting there untouched for years. How many leases and what kind of exploration could go forward that the private companies just aren't doing?
I actually, and I have to say I regret this, I have the specific numbers for you. They're sitting upstairs on my desk. But I will make sure that I get you those numbers and anybody else who's interested in them. Glenn?
Bill, in the run-up to Copenhagen, the administration took its share of criticism from conservative groups who said that you were sort of in the pocket of the environmental community. What do you think this says about the president's attitude towards environmentalists and his willingness to stand up to them even if they don't agree with him?
Well, Glenn, I was saying this earlier, but I don't see it in that political lens necessarily. If the president had done something today that he hadn't promised that he was going to do, that we hadn't telegraphed from the campaign through the State of the Union of this year, through all the different things that we've said about energy, then I would say that maybe we could have a conversation about what this means for standing up to whomever. But this is something the president said he was going to do, and I think that for the most part, people oughtn't feel surprised about it.
And just to follow up on what Sam was asking about the contact with the Hill, if you sort of look at this map, it appears to be carefully crafted and tailored. You have some drilling on the North Shore of Alaska. You have more restrictions on the south. You also have that drilling off the coast of Virginia. To what extent did you discuss the creation of this map with Senator Warner in Virginia, Senator Landrieu in Louisiana? Was there a back and forth prior to this?
On the actual process for figuring out the places where it made most sense to explore new places to drill, I would direct you to the Department of Interior. Peter?
About yesterday, the president stated on Iran, President Sarkozy says weeks, not months, on a sanctions resolution. Can you give us any more understanding of why he's saying that, or what it makes him think he can get at that on that time frame? What's happening in terms of discussions about the Chinese at this point? Or?
Well, for starters, as the president expressed yesterday, there's a real sense of urgency as it relates to working to apply pressure to Iran. And there are some very intense conversations happening at the United Nations right now that we're able to make some real progress on. And the president feels like we have more support in the international community for sanctions than we've ever had before. And he feels very confident that this spring we will be able to move forward with an agreement of those nations.
How important is it to get a sanctions resolution, even if it doesn't include everything that he originally might have wanted it to have?
Well, the president obviously, the United States is not the only country who is dealing with this issue, and so we have to work with some of our foreign partners to apply as much pressure as we can. You brought up the Chinese. The Chinese know that it's not in their interest to have a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, and we're confident that we're going to be able to work with them to move forward on meaningful pressure on Iran. So I would say that the president takes the long view. He wants to apply as much pressure as we can, and he's confident that we're going to be able to do that. Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. As you know, gas prices have been on the rise over the past few months. I've seen $4 a gallon here in Washington, D.C. To what extent does the White House believe that the proposal the President announced today will bring down the cost of gasoline for motorists across the country?
I don't know about the immediate impact because, of course, all of these different things that we're doing have to go through different phases, right? You've got some places where you can start drilling a lot more soon than in other places, and so the length of time that it takes for the oil to get out of the ground and into the supply is going to take a little while. So I don't know that. I'm not a speculator, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen on the price of a barrel of oil today. But I can tell you that over the long term, this is going to save the American people money. It's going to decrease our dependence on foreign oil, and it's going to allow them to know that our energy future is secure.
So long term then, you said you don't know about the immediate impact it may have. Long term, you think that the price of gasoline for motorists across the country will come down as a result of the proposal the President announced today?
I think that as a result of the proposal the President announced today, our country will have a lot more energy security and a lot less dependence on foreign oil. But in terms of the ups and downs of the market, I'm not going to get into that.
Did that enter into the calculus of the White House in making this decision that perhaps this would bring down the cost of gasoline for motorists?
Well, obviously, as we get into the summer, gas prices go up. And at a time when the economy is not doing very well, that can have a real pinch on families who are unemployed, or families who are underemployed, or families who are feeling the pinch from all sorts of different aspects of the economy, rising tuition costs, rising utility costs, and things like that. And so the President does want to do things that make energy more affordable for the American people. But I would say that this comprehensive approach is the best way to do that for the long term, for as it relates to energy and as it relates to our economy. Thank you.